Today, we're going to go over the Hukou system in mainland People's Republic of China. It's spelled Hukou. The Hukou system is China's household registration system. In a nutshell, where you're born is where you're going to be raised and is where you have to live and work your entire life. So number one, if you're born in a Hukou system and you're born in a rural area of China, which is predominantly over 80% of Chinese, then unfortunately, you do not have the right to move into cities unless you have a Hukou household registration sort of certificate that lets you move into Beijing. This can be quite difficult because number two, the areas of farming, you make no money, right? You're working 7 days a week and it's just, you just really can't generate income. You do own your land though. But again, it's hard to get ahead and it's hard to get your children educated because most people in China are living in a rural area. Now this, of course, also the Hukou affects your education. The education in some elite cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen is better than in rural areas. But again, if you're Hukou and you're the 80 or over 80% of the Chinese have a Hukou that actually says that they live in a rural area, they cannot access the outside education unless they can have a certificate that lets them go. Also, the Hukou system is if you're born in that certain area, you get subsidies. So if you're from a certain land, a farming land, you'll get subsidies for that area. Hukou also affects where you live, forever where you live and where you have subsidies. So if you go to another place in China, quote unquote, you're undocumented. That sounds like a strange concept, but you can actually get in trouble for living illegally in other parts of China. Number 6, Hukou. That also kind of affects who you marry. Obviously you generally marry someone with the same Hukou as you, house registration. But if you marry someone else, there's other extenuating circumstances. Now your Hukou is very important, right? Because number 7, where you give birth is where you get your Hukou. But if you're undocumented in other parts of China and your Hukou is not in the rural area, then those births sometimes are not registered. And so in that case, there's lots of people in China who actually are not registered officially because they did not give birth in their Hukou area of maybe a farmland. So this is quite difficult because if you don't have a Hukou, you can't go to a school, you cannot stay in that certain region. So it's actually quite important. Your Hukou, where you're born and raised and you have to live and work, is also directly affecting your lifetime income. If you have a Hukou from a rural area, which most of people in China do, you're not going to make the big income of people in the cities. So again, this is a very important topic that you should know, which is the Hukou system of China.